Steve Corino. Now he's wearing the arm up. You can see it. Only one thing is coming, Nick.
Well, oh wait, Hudson blocks it. He blocks it, Tony. And now Hayde off the ropes himself. Oh, he got caught there.
Steve Corino blocked the kick. A clubbing forearm to the back of Hayde Benson head off the rope. And he hits the lariat, turning him into one,
kick out,
two,
kick out,
three. It's all over. Steve Corino has beaten the All England champion. Now in 2 weeks' time, we will see Corino versus Shane.
Corino, I'll give you credit. You beat Hayde Benson, and you beat me good. But in your next match, you're facing the show stealer. Now, nobody knows that boy like I know him. And as far as I'm concerned, your winning streak is over.
Hello everybody, Tony Giles here for FWA TV, and I'm standing here with British wrestling sensation Spud. Now Spud, you're making your FWA TV debut tonight against James Tighe. How do you feel about that?
You know, Tony, when you say the name James Tighe to me, that to me reads off 2002 Rookie of the Year. That reads to me the man that retired the Wonder Kid Johnny Storm. Now you may not know this, but Johnny Storm happened to be one of my heroes, the reason I actually wanted to be a professional wrestler. So tonight all I can do is give my best shot and probably do what the Wonder Kid couldn't, and that's beat James Tighe and beat him good.
All right, well, good luck, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers, man.
Phone call for Simmons, please. Mr. Simmons to reception. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Hello, sir. Right. Blood? Blunderbuss? You've shot the chauffeur? Police? Rightio, okay, Duke, I'll report upon my return. Okay, bye-bye. Oh dear.
Fans, welcome to another episode of FWA TV. As ever, your host here, John Atkins. Coming up in this hour, we will see James Tighe versus Spud in Spud's FWA TV debut. Plus, boxing hero Danny Williams, the man who knocked out Mike Tyson, will be in attendance. But first, the opening contest. Mark Sloan will take on Simmons, with the stipulation that should Sloan win, he and Stevie Knight will get a shot at the FWA Tag Team Championships at British Uprising 3. Over to our commentators now, Nick London and Tony Giles.
Holy Sloan clones, Tony. Recently, Mark Sloan successfully pinned one of the tag team champions, Simmons, in a non-televised contest. As a result of this, Stevie Knight has clamped himself onto Mark Sloan, and together they went to the FWA office and demanded that if they can beat Simmons again in a rematch, then they'll get an FWA tag team title shot at British Uprising 3.
Now, Nick, I don't know if it's just me, but it would appear that Mark Sloan has a new Sloan clone, as you just said, and he looks
Wait a minute,
familiar.
That's Simmons! What's Simmons doing with a Sloan clone outfit on?
I don't know, it would appear that maybe Simmons is trying to get an early advantage on Mark Sloan and the entourage, and he's done it. Simmons is in the ring at the moment with Mark Sloan.
Simmons splash! Oh, it was a sly maneuver from the evil Butler, who also happens to be one half of the FWA Tag Team Champions. No, Simmons line! And another!
Simmons is the proverbial house on fire at the moment, Nick, as he sends Mark Sloan into the corner, up and over, high back body drop, and Simmons is in control.
Well, I'm glad he took that top off because I was having trouble telling the difference between either one of them. But now I see that it's Mark Sloan who has retreated to the outside to try and get a little bit of a breather after that sickening sly attack from Simmons earlier in the contest.
Well, Nick, I mean, you say if we know that Mark Sloan and Stevie Knight went to the FWA and petitioned to get a tag team title shot. Nick, I saw the match and it was simply that Simmons lost the match due to interference from the entourage.
Oh, unfortunately, I didn't watch this non-televised match. I mean, after all, it wasn't on telly. But you see, as a result of that, all I had to do was look on the piece of paper and it said, ooh, Mark Sloan pinned Simmons. Therefore, whether you like it or not, Simmons is in dear risk of having to give a tag team title shot to Mark Sloan and Stevie Knight. I mean, Mark Sloan could very well have the Butler's number.
There is no disputing the fact that Mark Sloan is a good wrestler, Nick. He's the head trainer of the FWA Academy. But I was there, I saw that match. Simmons would not have lost that match if it hadn't been for the interference of Mark Sloan.
Stop crying over spilt milk, Tony. The past is a past. Let it be. The present is Mark Sloan versus Simmons. Mark Sloan wins once again. He will get that tag team title shot along with Stevie Knight of British Uprising 3. And you know what? I honestly think Thunder's going to strike twice.
You can see some of the FWA fans getting on the case of Mark Sloan as Mark Sloan goes in there with the arm wringer and sends Simmons over with a hip toss.
He had a lovely underhook there which he used to sort of hip toss Simmons across the ring. I mean, he got a very nice and tight hold there, Tony. And you know what? Specialist Mark Sloan doing what it says on the tin. He is the specialist and he is dominating. Oh, and there's Mark Sloan showing my boy to the dance's technical ability, just out-wrestling Simmons at the moment.
Mark Sloan fakes with a lockup and goes with a nice drop toe hold, but Simmons goes in with a lockup straight into the headlock.
Oh, off the ropes, and Simmons was just overpowering.
I noticed that Mark Sloan is keeping the pace of this match, Nick, very slow to start off with. It would appear that maybe Mark Sloan has, a design plan in mind of how he's going to take apart one half of the FWA Tag Team Champions in Simmons.
Well, let's break it down a bit. Mark Sloan, experience advantage. Mark Sloan also the technical skill advantage. But Simmons has that raw, unadulterated power. And don't forget, Tony, he's got the Simmons of Maniacs all behind him, pushing him on. But will the love of the crowd bring him through this contest?
As we see Mark Sloan there with a modified ankle lock, trying to make Simmons submit there. He goes through it, he takes the arm as well. Nicely done. Simmons is very dangerously close to the ropes, but Mark Sloan, being the ring veteran that he is, picks him up, moves him into a more prominent position, and goes in with a nice rolling arm drag straight back into the armbar.
It's interesting watching Mark Sloan wrestle. I mean, usually a lot of wrestlers will go in there and try and get the holds. Not Mark Sloan. Mark Sloan will take control of a wrist, and then from there he'll take control of an arm, then he'll take control of the head. He basically does it in stages, and that is the experience just brimming through on Mark Sloan.
Mark Sloan trying to send Simmons into the turnbuckle, but Simmons had other ideas in mind and sends Mark Sloan in, crashing into one, then crashes him into another one. Looks like he's going to go for the third one, Nick.
Now you see, Simmons isn't bringing a technical game. He's just being a cheeky little swine at the moment.
And we get number 4 as well. Simmons once again back in control of this match as he sends Mark Sloan off from one corner to the other. Gets the crowd behind him and sets himself up. Double knees. All goes in though and holds on to Mark Sloan.
Well, he's just playing with a specialist now, and that's really not a good idea. Oh, monkey flip, and Mark Sloan gets taken down to the ground. Simmons! Oh, he went for the Simmons elbow, but Mark Sloan was able to roll out of the way.
Mark Sloan faking playing possum there maybe, and goes with a stiff kick to the back of Simmons.
Mark Sloan sets for another one. That will sting in the morning.
sets up, goes and gets the second one. Also going in for the pinfall, only getting a 2 count there. Well, you know, I thought that Mark Sloan would pace this match out, but it looks as though that he's just going to go from some brutality at the moment, as now he's got his knee driving it into the back of Simmons, trying to drive the air out of him, while he's also got that reverse chin lock on. But as we see Simmons now trying to butler himself up, get himself up into the standing position, but Mark Sloan is still on the offense.
Well, he peppered a couple of forearms there, whip off the ropes and a back elbow from Simmons.
Simmons off the ropes, and he goes for the rolling neck breaker and hits it.
The Butler now trying to get his fans behind him, and they will oblige. He's saying that Mark Sloan's as pretty as a picture, drops the drop kick to the knee. Simmons obviously very happy to be wrestling here today, but he wants the quiet from the crowd.
It would appear, Nick, that Simmons seems to be mimicking a certain wrestler we've seen in the FWA before, in the form of low-key, but I don't think his low-key impersonation was very effective.
Well, that was key-tastic, but that was the roll-up. Sloan able to kick out last minute there. I mean, you do not want to underestimate the Butler. We have seen him take it to Birchall. True, he got plastered the whole way through the contest, but he still got the victory.
Mark Sloan in with a nice clothesline, takes Simmons down, but still manages to only get the 2 count.
Simmons were able to use those piston-like legs and power out of that pinfall attempt. And now Mark Sloan, he's going to try and use his raw power to bring Simmons up, but it isn't going to work. He's now going to try and... Oh, wait, I thought he was going for another suplex, but no, it's off the rope.
Accurate. Under the chin there. Nice reverse kick from Mark Sloan. Square under the chin of Simmons. Takes him down, but what is Mark Sloan doing? He should be going in for the cover.
Hey, look, Mark Sloan has pinned Simmons once before. I think he'll know when it's time to pin him again.
Mark Sloan pinned Simmons before with the help of his little buddies on the outside of the ring. In a one-on-one contest, fair fight, he would not be able to beat the Butler Simmons. As we see Mark Sloan there trying to get Simmons up, but Simmons just powering him over. But no, he couldn't do it either. And Mark Sloan picks up Simmons now. Lord, Nick! I honestly didn't think that Mark Sloan would be able to power him up, but he did, and he hits the Tomorrow Driver.
Looks like Mark Sloan was desperately going for that move throughout this contest, but Mark Sloan seems to have injured his own knee in the process. That could have been a risky move that he did there.
Well, I mean,
never mind the back of Simmons' head. I mean, Mark Sloan's hurt, Tony.
Yeah, Simmons must be one of the biggest men that Mark Sloan has ever done that on, and obviously you can see that it's injured the knee of Mark Sloan. Mark Sloan trying to fire back on the offense, but Simmons keeping himself in the corner, trying to keep himself in a defensive position, picks or gets himself up, double stomp onto Mark Sloan's feet, and it looks like Simmons is now setting him up. Nice suplex, nicely done.
Simmons there, bringing the suplex, bringing the pain to Mark Sloan, and I think he's calling us something. He seems to be staggering around the ring, and could we be seeing the beginning of the Butler Buster?
It could be what Simmons has in mind, Nick, but that Tomorrow Driver has definitely taken something out.
Well, I'm hearing some music here. I mean, that's Simmons' music, so I presume the Duke's on his way to the ring.
That's the music of Hampton. It's Stevie Knight! Why is Stevie Knight coming out to Hampton Court's music?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's a distraction, and it's obviously worked. Simmons taking his eye off the ball, and is now looking at Knight.
Stevie Knight has had a vendetta against... Oh, Mark Sloan using the wall bottle there into the eyes of Simmons. Devastating kick, front kick to the face of Simmons. Goes, no!
That was a spinny, spessy kick and a half, Tony.
No! Stevie Knight came out because he's got a grudge against Simmons because he can't beat him fair and simple. He comes out, distracts Simmons, Mark Sloan and his clones on the outside, use the water bottle, get the distraction, and now they're going on to Uprising 3.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why Stevie Knight did it. He's showing the teamwork that he and Mark Sloan have. He's just come out, he distracted Simmons long enough to allow the specialist Mark Sloan to get the victory.
It wasn't a fair victory in my eyes, Nick. Now we're going to go and see Hampton Court versus Stevie Knight and Mark Sloan at British Uprising 3. They've got an FWA tag team title shot, when in truth they should never have had this match in the first place.
Hey listen, it's 2-0 to Stevie Knight and Mark Sloan. They are a very legitimate threat to the FWA Tag Team Championships.
Sorry, James Tighe, tonight you're wrestling Spud.
Spud? Who's Spud? Get out of my way. Fans, I'm sure you remember as I do that a couple of months back here on FWA TV, Johnny Storm, the Wonder Kid, lost a loser leaves the FWA match against James Tighe. Well, imagine my shock when I turned on the wrestling channel a couple of weeks ago to watch my favourite show, The Bagpipe Report, to see none other than this.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Bagpipe Report. I'm Blake Norton and I will be your host for this evening. We have got all the wrestling news from around the world, as long as we got Johnny Storm here, the biggest sex machine, best wrestler in England.
Oh my God, that's so. Yeah, oh my God, that's so.
Sorry. What do you say?
Get off my goddamn show!
Sign my petition, FWA, baby.
Petition?
Fuck off. Let's hit the music, Jack.
Don't worry about it. I've got it all sewn up. I'm the show stealer, of course. Listen, mate, he won't know what hit him. Steve Corino, finally, one-on-one. The king of old school against the show stealer, Alex Shane. The match that they've been talking about for nearly a year now. Well, the fact is this, Steve Corino. You probably think that Flash Barker's done you a real favour, getting you in a match where you can get your hands on me once and for all, because you think I've been avoiding you, you think I've been dodging you. Well, the fact of the matter is this, Steve Corino, I have been working you. That's right, because this match is going to make me so much money as the managing director of the FWA that I'll be able to fly to Japan, fly to America, do all those things that you think make you such a big international star. See, I'm going to use you like some dirty to make the show stealer even bigger in the world of professional wrestling than he already is. And the fact is this, you think Flash Barker's your friend? Well, after I'm done with you, he's going to be your biggest enemy, because he will have been the one that signed this match. You see, you're not in ECW anymore. You're not in MLW anymore. You're not in 01 anymore. You're in the FWA, son. And around here, you're in my territory. You're on my ground. And the fact is this, if you think that I'm just going to go into this match and take it lightly and not have a couple of tricks up my sleeve, then you're very much mistaken. I'll be standing over you, looking down at the remnants of your career and saying, here lies Steve Corino. He used to be a somebody, but now, just like all you people at home, he's a nobody. And there'll be two things that you can do about it. That's fly back home to America and never, ever come back to the FWA again.
Fans, over recent weeks, we've seen a more aggressive side of James Tighe come out, a mean streak, if you will. Well, tonight, he meets the little man who's been making big waves in British wrestling. That's Spud, who tonight is making his FWA TV debut. Over again to Nick London and Tony Giles.
James Tighe in your debut match, that is not an easy match to have.
No, not at all, but you know what? You can't say anything about Spud, but I certainly can. I used to watch Spud. Spud is a fantastic performer. He's been competing mainly in the Midlands area, but a lot of times, a lot of promoters said, Spud, I'm sorry, you're just far too small. You do not belong in British wrestling. And this has only driven the little swine to work even harder in that ring. And now he's in a very unique situation. He is the smallest competitor in British wrestling today, and that means every time he gets in the ring, he's the underdog. He's the smallest guy in that ring every time, and he knows how to shift what little way he can to get the advantage. So yeah, you know what? what? Spud has been in there with bigger guys than James Tighe. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an upset. And I've got to tell you, Tony, interesting concept. Spud's got that freeway dance, and he's going against the victor of the last freeway dance.
Well, we saw a cocky grin there from James Tighe when he went in for the handshake. I mean, I think maybe James Tighe sees this match as oh, someone's having their debut against me. Who is this little guy? James Tighe's obviously going into this match thinking, well, I wrestled the likes of Loki, the likes of AJ Styles. I don't need to wrestle this Spud guy. And I think James Tighe's just going to be able to prove a point, Nick, and he's going to destroy Spud.
I will admit, Spud does look like a reject from Busted, but I've seen it so many times. I mean, a guy underestimating him, and suddenly, without warning, Spud will hit something that will make your jaw drop, and he'll take the win.
I mean, we see Spud out.
He's setting up for the pop rock drop. It looks like he's trying to get it on, but James Tighe is blocking it. He does not want Spud to fly.
We can see that Spud is matching James Tighe move for move, as he had a nice frontside chancery there, but James Tighe just purely powering him out of the way.
Well, obviously, I mean, in this case, when James Tighe has a power advantage, he has a power advantage. Spud, I'm not quite sure, between 9 to 10 stone, and James Tighe, well, the boy likes his beef, let's put it that way.
And we can see James Tighe flexing there for the crowd. Obviously the bigger man in this too, one of the biggest guys we have on the FWA roster. But as you said before, Nick, you cannot count Spud out, because blink of an eye, you will miss it, and he will have you pinned 1, 2, 3.
Well, James Tighe now is going for that leg, and we saw when he went against Ross Jordan, he went onto the leg of Ross Jordan like a rabid dog. I mean, he's been using this Texas cloverleaf as of late, and it's been a very effective maneuver for the technically sound Tighe.
Nicely done there. Spud managing to roll out of it at the moment. He's just mashing James Tighe so much, trying to out-psych James Tighe as well. He used that right leg before to get out of that leg lock that James Tighe had him in, but James Tighe, wisely this time, has his left foot firmly placed on Spud's right leg.
Well, Spud, no doubt, is feeling the pressure at the moment. And James Tighe, he's not going to let go.
James Tighe dropping a knee there onto the leg of Spud, trying to maybe work over that knee, work over that leg. And as you just said, Nick, James Tighe has been using the Texas cloverleaf in his recent matches to manage to get the win. So maybe we're going to see James Tighe trying to get a submission victory out of Spud.
Well, I can tell you what's going through the... Oh, nice arm drag there from Spud. He ducks the clothesline. Oh, the match is getting quicker. Look at Spud, he's getting the advantage, and Tighe went a-flying.
Oh my Lord, Nick, blink and you will miss him. Spud is unbelievable. He is so quick in that ring, and I think James Tighe well and truly underestimated the little man.
Absolutely, but this is what I'm talking about. He knows how to shift what little weight he has to get the advantage, but now James Tighe with the raw strength and the bridging fall-away slam.
Look at that gorilla press stance into a bridging fall-away slam. Pure power and aggression from James Tighe.
Now, I want to go into James Tighe's mind. We know that James Tighe is frustrated. He's been frustrated in his career recently, but a victory over AJ Styles should have been the end of his frustrating days, but no. Because he was a DQ, everyone in the back has been saying, yeah, James, you won. But it was only a DQ. So now, James Tighe's been bringing out these submission holds, and you've got to believe that when he goes against AJ Styles, 30-minute Iron Man match, he wants AJ Styles to tap. He wants AJ Styles to say, you're right, James Tighe, you're the better man. I quit.
Nice stalling suplex there from James Tighe, only managing to get the 2 count. I have seen James Tighe, and I have spoke with James Tighe since that match with AJ Styles, and it does play on his mind that, yeah, people saying to him, well, you only got a DQ. James Tighe is more focused than I have ever seen him before, Nick, since that match with AJ Styles. He definitely has a point to prove going into British Uprising 3.
I don't think he really should have to prove this point. I mean, only a DQ? Only? I'd like to see you get a DQ over AJ Styles.
Spud there goes with the flip, the sunset flip, sorry, goes up and over. James Tighe tries to punch Spud, but Spud rolls out of it. Nice, nice.
Little face buster there, and James Tighe with the raw power again. Power slamming the Spud, and Spud has been mashed.
James Tighe beckoning Spud to get to his feet. James Tighe just wants to inflict as much damage as possible, Nick. That's the only game plan I can see him having. Beat as much on Spud as he can, going into his match with AJ Styles.
That's right, beat Spud as hard as you can and then hit the Titanic or lock on the Texas Cloverleaf and take it home, James. Prove why you are the dominating force in British wrestling. Prove why you are the formidable one.
The one-armed body slam into a leg drop goes to the pin count. Referee Andy Gordon only getting a 2 count. Spud psyching himself up, trying to get the crowd behind him. Spud has so much to prove here in his in his debut for FWA TV.
Absolutely, he's got a lot to prove to the fans, but I think some of the fans know of Spud's previous successes, but none of those successes mean anything when you enter the FWA. And there's that drop salt, Tony. Absolutely crisp.
James Tighe in for the pin, only gets a 2 count again. Maybe James Tighe is being a little bit cocky as of yet in this match. Maybe he needs to get in there, go for that Titanic. A nice stiff uppercut forearm there as he sends Spud into the corner, whips him off, goes in from one corner to the other. James Tighe follows him in with a double knees to the chest.
Oh my lord, and there's a bridging double underhook butterfly suplex. I've not seen that one before.
As I've said, Nick, James Tighe so determined ever since that match with AJ Styles.
I gotta say, Spud's got this weird heart condition. It's called an enlarged heart. Look at it. Despite the fact that James Tighe is just so much bigger, Spud is desperate. He does not want his shoulders on the ground. Oh, and Spud all the way over the top, my goodness.
Look at that, Spud up and over, but James Tighe picks him up. Spud in with the wheelbarrow. Spud has the head of James Tighe, but James Tighe holds on, goes in with the knee breaker. Oh, Nick, a sit-out knee breaker onto the leg of Spud.
James Tighe, you are sick. You are as sick as a dog, and I mean that in a nice way. That was a beautiful series of moves there, Tony. He went for that wheelbarrow bulldog, but instead James Tighe turned it into a shin breaker, and then I've never seen it before. It was a shin breaker with a sit out. I mean, just cracking Spud into the ground.
It is obvious, Nick, James Tighe is targeting the legs of Spud. It's obvious he wants to end this match with that Texas Cloverleaf. We saw Ross Jordan tap out to it, and it would appear that James Tighe, that is his modus operandi. He's going for that. That is what he's going to do.
Oh, what's this? He seems to have targeted the leg here, and he's gonna go up top and fly, taking a page from Spud's book. What is James Tighe doing?
Oh, James Tighe goes. It looked like he was going for some sort of splash onto the leg of Spud, but Spud rolling out of the way with all that he had left, trying to get the fans behind him now, trying to prove that he belongs in the FWA.
I gotta tell you, Tony, Spud's biggest strength is the fact that he can fly, but when you're a one-legged donkey in an arse-kicking contest, how are you gonna honestly win?
Spud goes there with a nice Hurricane Rana takeover. James Tighe momentarily dazed, goes in with a clothesline, but duck and a miss, and Spud manages to get the neck breaker, goes in for the pin, only gets the 2 count, Nick, but Spud needs to keep on this offense, needs to keep James Tighe down, do whatever he can to get that 3 count.
Spud now launching James Tighe, but Tighe just too big. Over the top of Tighe, off the ropes, the sleeper, way over the top, but Spud seems to be struggling here, but no, he's keeping up the momentum, and another drop kick to Tighe.
A drop kick takes out one of the legs of James Tighe. James Tighe rolls onto the outside. I don't think James Tighe expected this much offense from Spud this late in the match. James Tighe was working around the leg, thought he had the match won, but it just goes to show the heart, the desire in Spud to win this match.
Spud now, he's in a very good position here. I've told you before, he's a big flyer, and if he can hit something, looks like Spud's going for the...
Oh my lord! Spud up on one, bounced off on James Tighe. Both men are now down on the outside.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, as we've been talking about, you've got one with the power and one with the high flying. This is a meeting of two men who are British Uprising free, have big matches. Spud wants to make that huge impact by winning the Next Generation Freeway and in turn becoming the next #1 contender to the All England Championship. But first he's got to get through, the British Uprising 1's triple threat winner, James Tighe. But can he get the job done? Tighe now looks like he's going for his big trademark German suplex, but Spud knows that he does not want to go for that ride.
Spud fighting out of him, goes with the Integuri kick, a dazed James Tighe. Spud goes in, but James Tighe...
DDT!
Nick Sally, DDT, taking James Tighe from one side of the ring to the other as Spud pulls him closer into the middle of the ring and goes in with a pin. 2. Oh! So close, Nick, so close.
Spud struggling to his feet. Finally gets it, though.
We can still see that knee is bothering Spud quite a lot. Spud signalling him maybe he's going to go aerial one more time. Limping over there. I mean, that knee is going to play havoc on Spud for quite a while to come, I think, Nick.
Thing is, this is the problem with an injured leg. You don't want to fly, and he could be going for his Phoenix Star Splash. It's one of the most impressive I've ever seen, but Tighe doesn't want us to see it. We were denied, Tony, and he's going to go up top for something rather special.
Spud fighting off James Tighe. Tried to get in there, tried to catch Spud unawares, but James Tighe once again back down on the mat as we see Spud ascending, and he's on the top turnbuckle now.
We could be seeing it, Tony. Feet, no, wait, just a smash. I mean, the splash there onto James Tighe, and James will have felt that.
A nice frog splash there from Spud. James Tighe wisely rolling to the outside of the ring because you cannot get pinned on the outside of the ring. But James Tighe... James Tighe would appear that
he's playing a game here, I think. I mean, Spud doesn't quite know where he is.
I mean, the referee is administering the 20 count outside the ring. As Spud goes with a baseball slide, tries to go to the outside. James Tighe holding on, has got him in a wheelbarrow position. Oh, and he's just draped the knee over the guardrail, Nick. Has got it folded up and uses it on the ring as well.
Spud's now wishing he wasn't the lightest competitor in British wrestling today, because James Tighe was able to pick him up effortlessly and just destroy what was left of his knee.
James Tighe going in for the pinfall, but Spud kicking out. I'm not sure if this is a wise move on Spud, but James Tighe now. James Tighe is setting him up, Nick. He's setting him up. Spud is fighting, but James Tighe has got it locked in. Tight as you like.
Eyes. You know, usually I love bloods and guts, but just watching this is sickening. Spud is fighting. Spud's heart will not let him quit. But is he just denying the inevitable, Tony?
James Tighe will do whatever it takes to win this match, Nick. Even if he's got to break both the legs of Spud, he will do it. Spud is fighting to get to the bottom ropes. He is underneath the bottom rope. Yes, he has got the bottom rope. James Tighe now has to break that hold.
But how wise was it? I mean, sometimes it's better to actually submit and come and fight for another day. I mean, this kind of injury, if you sustain an injury at the hands of a Texas Cloverleaf, you could be out of wrestling for several months, or at least you will linger with an injury. And when you've got a big match of British Uprising 3 in that three-way dance, you do not want to go against the Ross Jordan. You do not want to go against Aviv Mayan with a big-time injury.
We saw James Tighe beckoning Spud. Come on, Spud. Get up. Fight back. As James Tighe now is just picking Spud apart. You've got to believe that the end is near for Spud, Nick. As James Tighe once again looks like he's setting up. And he's got it. And again, the Texas Cloverleaf one more time.
I wish he just ended. This is not funny, ladies and gentlemen. James Tighe is just going to rip the leg off of Spud. This is disgusting.
The look of anguish on Spud's face, the pain that has got to be racing through his knee right now. James Tighe is just...
You got to believe that AJ Styles will be watching this when he receives his regular videos in the post, and he is receiving a big-time message from James Tighe. I'll say something certainly more effective than an email.
Spud getting to the ropes one more time, but how much longer can Spud hold on for? If James Tighe cinches in that Texas Cloverleaf one more time, Nick, you've got to believe that it's going to be all over. James Tighe just brutally kicking the leg of Spud now, stomping on it, doing whatever he can.
He did this to Ross Jordan. He did this to Ross Jordan. He just went absolutely all over the knee.
James Tighe is sending a definitive message to the phenomenal AJ Styles. This is what is in store for you, AJ, of British Uprising 3. James Tighe has lost it, Nick. James Tighe has gone absolutely psycho, as once again he's setting up that
roll, no!
Oh, Nick, Spud goes with the roll up.
Why isn't the referee ending this?
James Tighe in with a chop block, and once again, for the third time, is he going to be able to get it, Nick? Is he going to be able to get it? As Spud is now fighting back. Come on, Spud. Spud's near the ropes. He's got the ropes, but James Tighe's pulling him away.
Oh, wait. I thought he was going... Oh, look at that. Powerbomb. Spud is unconscious after knocking the back of his head, and that's it. Spud had better better pray or he better tap.
He cannot hang on, Nick. I just cannot see how he can do it. This is the 4th time James Tighe has had this move on him. Surely he should have tapped out by now. It goes to show the heart and the desire of Spud, but it's too much, Nick. Spud has tapped.
Spud has a loving mother and father, and James Tighe didn't even care. All he cared about was sending that message to AJ Styles and getting all the momentum he can muster going into the biggest show this year in British wrestling, British Uprising 3. James Tighe's going to go against AJ Styles for 30 whole minutes.
3 roads to promise you the same thing. 1 chance, a time to gamble everything. You'll know your fate when the last man standing. 1 man serving to another, 1 life acting as a brother. Don't need respect, revenge is sweet. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. All you're left with is your pride. You say a prayer deep inside. Stand on full as you walk the line. To be a hero to a nation, blood flows in search of adoration. This one and only expectation. Righteous but driven by the thunder. Alone, who would trust a monster? To have it all, all you need is power. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. All you're left with is your pride. You say a prayer deep inside. Stand up full as you walk the light. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. All you're left with is your pride. You say a prayer deep inside. Stand up full as you walk the light. As worlds collide. As worlds collide.
Recently, FWA Commissioner Flash Barker invited his good friend, the British boxing hero Danny Williams, the man who knocked out Mike Tyson, to attend an FWA show. Williams was sitting in the crowd enjoying the action when he should turn up and decide he needed to speak his mind, but none other than the show stealer, Alex Shane.
Ladies and gentlemen, first things first, it's time to fear because the show stealer is here! Now, for those of you that don't know, and considering that you're all a bunch of inbred, retarded, mongoloid peasants, you probably don't, it's about time I explain matter is this. As he's being carried out by the referees, unable to stand on his own 2 feet like a real man, I took that belt, took it home with me, and I spent all of last night admiring what a pretty belt it is now that his blood's all over it. You know, the fact of the matter is this. Shut up, you fat piece of shit. The fact of the matter is this. I have a match with Steve Corino. And Steve Corino, you're no longer in America. You're no longer in Japan. You are in Britain, and you are in the FWA, which is my backyard. So I want all you people who's here to see Steve Corino. I want you to take one last long look at the king of old school, because after I'm done kicking his ass, this will be the very last time he ever comes back to perform in front of you retards again. Which brings me to one more very important reason I'm here, and that is, for the last 5 years, I've worked harder than you people working Safeway stacking shelves to get FWA and British Wrestling some mainstream publicity. And I can honestly say right now, I'm proud to have in the front row the man that made Britain proud by knocking out Mike Tyson, Danny Williams.
That is British boxing's own Danny Williams sitting at ringside. He was a guest of FWA Commissioner's Flash Barker.
That's right, he's the man that knocked out Mike Tyson in 4 rounds, Nick. 26 unguarded punches. This is the future of British boxing.
Possible and having Danny here. And thanks to Danny being here tonight, we're going to get some tremendous local and wrestling publicity. Who knows, we might even end up in Power Slam magazine at the time. But you know, it got me to thinking, if I had it my way and we did things right, Danny Williams could get us some tremendous mainstream publicity. We could be on radio shows, TV shows, newspapers. But you see, I met up with Danny Williams with Flash Barker, and we had a good little chat about how he was going to be used on these shows. But his agent, that guy sitting right there, told me that we can't have Danny Williams involved in any wrestler boxer storylines, because in December, Danny Williams has a heavyweight title match to make him the heavyweight champion of wrestling. Or boxing. Times a year, and they get a pittance compared to what you get paid, son. Yeah, that's it. And the fact is, Danny, the way I see things, don't worry, it's only going to get better. And the fact is, Danny, this is what we wanted, wasn't it? The fact is, Danny, the way I see things, okay, you couldn't, on your best day, be a professional wrestler on his worst day, because you, just like every other scumbag in Brixton, is too lazy to go and get a real job, isn't it?
FWA Commissioner's out here, Tony. This is really getting combustible.
This is, I think it's starting to get a bit out of hand, Nick.
Oh, do you feel like you're being used, son? You know what? You should be getting used to being used or using people, because that's exactly what you did to Mike Tyson, son. Mike Tyson, when you knocked him out, was at the tail end of his career, and he was a nothing. Does everybody else agree with that? He was a nothing. Mike Tyson, you knocked out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking. Tony, you know you was coming out to do this?
No, we can only apologise, ladies and gentlemen.
This my way, you didn't want to add something out, so I'm going to tell it like it is. Now we've got you, yeah, photographers, get a shot of this. Let me tell you something, son. Okay, if it wasn't me, if Mike Tyson, stay there, if Mike Tyson fought you 10 years ago, you'd be on your back getting licked in the ring. Which is something that's probably not that new to you, is it, gay boy? But why are here, you get every week. How good is this going to make me look? Danny
see, as you can see, my co-commentator Tony Giles gone down to ringside. This is just gone completely out of control. Alex Shane not happy with the fact Dally Williams didn't want to help us promote this event, leading up to Shane's huge match with Steve Corino.
Fans, we are out of time this week, but be sure to tune in next time for our season finale here on FWA TV. We'll see Mark, 5-star Belton, take on the returning classic Colt Cabana. Plus, the matchup that has been 18 months in the making. The king of old school, Steve Corino, goes to war with the show stealer, Alex Shane. As always, I'm your host, John Atkins, and until next time, I'll see you ringside.